In the United Kingdom, the most common criminal offences include assault and battery, antisocial behaviour, and burglary. More violent offences tend to fall much lower on this list, but there are still over 2,600 killings that have gone unsolved for years, and in some cases, decades. In today's episode, we'll be exploring 2 cold cases from the UK that need the public to help solve them. But first, I'd like to thank Magellan TV for sponsoring today's episode. If you've tuned in to a cold case detective video in the last year, odds are you've heard us rave about our exciting partnership with Magellan TV, the best source for the hottest and most intriguing true crime content available online. You know about their documentaries and bingeable television shows and how they go beyond the realm of true crime to deliver unbelievable deep dives into other topics like space or history or the supernatural. In other words, there is always something to watch, no matter where your interests lie. This week we are highlighting the documentary The Crater, a true Vietnam story, a 57-minute picture taking us inside the mind of a former Australian conscript who served in the Vietnam War. The show doesn't simply focus on the terror of war, however, but rather takes us through the hidden darkness that came with digging mass graves for the North Vietnamese soldiers. They do a difficult job of balancing themes of history, horror, and the impact deathly conflict has on mental health, telling an intriguing story while bringing humanity to those who were victims of destruction, regardless of which side they were on. It respects the subjects of tragedy, exactly how we curate our own videos here on Cold Case Detective. The Crater, a true Vietnam story, is also a new release, part of Magellan TV's 15 to 20 hours of brand new content they add to their library each week, always leaving fans of true crime and other relevant topics with something fresh to binge and enjoy. Use the link in the description to access a free month trial and jump into the jaw-dropping adventure of The Crater, a true Vietnam story, and other top-notch documentaries on Magellan TV. And now let's dive in with today's mysteries. Mary Ferns. On the morning of June 17th, 2008, 88-year-old Mary Ferns, better known as May, told her husband that she planned to go shopping for some new tights at the Almond Vale Shopping Centre, now known as The Centre, in Livingston, Scotland. Bill, 83, recalled that his wife headed out at around 9:30 a.m, but she never came home. Later that evening, Bill called friends and family, asking if anybody had seen the retired nurse. He then filed a missing report with the local police and hoped that she would turn up soon, safe and well. However, May was never seen or heard from again. The last confirmed sighting of the 88-year-old was on CCTV, when investigators discovered that she had been spotted walking along Princes Street in Edinburgh, roughly 17 miles away. May seemed relaxed and happy, but it is still unclear to this day why she went to Edinburgh in the first place, when there were plenty of stores closer to home where she could purchase tights. Investigators who worked on the case described the 88-year-old's disappearance as bizarre, and noted they were still unsure of how May travelled to Edinburgh, although some reports state she was seen getting on a bus to Scotland's capital city. In April of 2011, investigators discovered skeletal remains on the edge of the River Almond at Craigshill, Livingston, under thick brush. They had been searching the area since January. The remains were partially buried, less than 1 mile from Mary's home on Vancouver Avenue and close to the Livingston Rugby Club. However, on February 23, 2012, it was revealed that the remains were not, in fact, Mary's, as had been initially suspected by investigators. They actually belonged to a man who vanished 15 years earlier. James Adams, 58, had gone missing in 1996. He had health problems, and his death is not believed to be suspicious. There are few other details available in Mary's case. In 2009, she was featured on a BBC missing persons appeal, and 1 year later, her daughter made an appeal for help. But there have been no further updates in the case since the discovery of the remains in 2011. 88-year-old Mary Ferns is described as a white woman with short grey hair and green eyes. She is 5'3" and of a slim build, and is often seen with a distinctive blue floral walking stick with a brass handle. On the day of her disappearance, she was wearing a brown 3/4 length jacket, brown skirts, and brown shoes. She was also carrying a brown handbag. If you have any information on Mary's disappearance, contact information will be available at the end of this video. Trevaline Evans. It was a bright and sunny morning when 52-year-old Trevaline Evans opened her store, Attic Antiques, at 9:30 a.m. The shop, located on Church Street in Llangollen, Wales, was often busy on weekends, especially on sunny afternoons when locals came out to peruse the independent businesses in the area. During the morning, Trevaline spoke with around 25 friends and customers and appeared to be in a good mood. She seemed relaxed and happy and had plans to head out later that night. As far as anyone knew, nothing was amiss with the 52-year-old. At 12:40 p.m, Trevaline stuck a notice on her shop's front door, which read, "Back in 2 minutes." She then left the scene. She was reportedly seen talking with a smartly dressed man just beforehand, but he has never been traced or identified. Upon leaving the store, it is known that Trevaline purchased an apple and a banana. She was spotted crossing nearby Castle Street. A banana skin was later found in her shop's rubbish bin, suggesting the possibility that the 52-year-old had returned to work after she'd purchased the fruits. But this also could be a red herring, as she could have eaten a banana earlier that morning. It has never been confirmed that she returned to the store that afternoon. The last confirmed sighting of Trevaline was at 12:30 p.m, when she was spotted on Market Street near her home. She has never been seen again after this point and has never been heard from. Her car, a dark blue Ford Escort Estate, was parked 200 yards from her store and was not moved at the time of her disappearance. Her handbag, car keys, and jacket had all been left behind in the shop, along with some fruit and flowers she planned to take home with her at closing time. After the sighting of Trevaline at 12:30 p.m, there were 2 further unconfirmed observations of her. One was at 2:35, when a woman matching the 52-year-old's description was seen walking out of town along the A5 beside the Riverside Park, while the other was at 3:45 p.m, when a woman who resembled Trevaline was spotted walking into Park Avenue from the direction of the River Dee. Authorities began to build a picture of Trevaline's life following her disappearance. She had been out of town for most of the week before she vanished, at the holiday home she owned with her husband, Richard, near the coast of Rutland. Richard had been renovating the home, which they hoped to move into after they retired. Trevaline returned to Llangollen 3 days before she vanished. She was not known to be depressed and had no enemies that anyone knew of. Her life was, by all accounts, perfectly ordinary. After she went missing, every household in Llangollen was interviewed. The police then extended the search, questioning those who lived outside the town as well. More than 1,500 names were checked, and 700 cars were eliminated from the inquiry. Searches of the River Dee, the canal, mine shafts, and caves in the area turned up nothing. A sketch of a man in a blazer, who had reportedly been seen in Trevaline's company shortly before she vanished, was created and circulated, although this appears to have turned up no new leads. In 1992, woodland in a vale named World's End was searched after a tip was received from someone who claimed to be a spiritualist medium. A year later, police scent dogs searched a canal bank near Llangollen after a woman wrote to the police stating she had been overwhelmed by a feeling that Trevaline was nearby. However, these leads went nowhere. In January of 2001, the case was reopened by the police in the hopes that new forensic techniques would shed some light on the disappearance and give detectives evidence to work with. But unfortunately, this did not help propel the investigation forward. 5 months later, in June, Trevaline's husband, Richard, was arrested, but later released without charge. It is unclear what made detectives bring him in. Around this same time, investigators ruled that the sketch made shortly before she went missing of the man in the blazer was inaccurate. Trevaline's case was re-examined in 2010, on the 20th anniversary of her disappearance. In September of 2011, it was reported that the police were looking for a possible connection between her disappearance and a convicted killer named Robin Ligas, who was serving a life sentence for the slayings of 3 men in 1994. However, by early 2012, this theory had been dismissed. In the years since Trevaline vanished, there have been sightings of her in England, France, and Australia, although none have been confirmed. Her bank account has not been touched since the day she disappeared. Her husband, Richard, passed away in 2015. In 2019, police investigators, acting on a tip given to them by 2 brothers, dug up the bar at Rutland Golf Club but found nothing. The 2 brothers who'd spoken with the police, Lee and Andrew Sutton, later complained about law enforcement's handling of the information. They claimed an unnamed person had tipped them off about Trevaline's remains and said they'd purchased a camera which showed human remains beneath the golf club's floorboards, but stated that by the time the police arrived to do their examination days later, the remains had been removed. Andrew, a former auditor for Flintshire County Council, and Lee, a carpenter, both staunchly believe that they had discovered Trevaline's remains. They claim they have photographic evidence of the corpse, which, according to the brothers, has been validated by a forensic expert. In January of 2021, a passerby noticed a plaque fixed onto one of several council-owned benches along the Prestatyn Walkway, over 30 miles from Llangollen. The inscription read, "In memory of Trevaline Evans, vanished 16/6/90. Found, Rutland Golf Club, 14/3/2019. Removed, 19/3/2019. R.I.P." The plaque had been there for several weeks and was defaced shortly afterwards. In May of 2022, a new plaque was discovered attached to another bench at a resting spot just off the Offers Dyke footpath. It read, "Justice awaits those responsible for the removal and disposal of Trevaline Evans, in this life or the next. From Rutland Golf Club on March 19th, 2019 at noon. May the Lord have mercy upon their soul." The Sutton brothers deny being responsible for these plaques, and when asked about the initial plaque, Lee stated, "It's very strange. I don't know who would do it and why they'd choose to put it there." The brothers have also claimed that since speaking with the police about the golf club, Andrew's window has been smashed in, and Lee has received threatening calls. There has been no progress in Trevaline's case for some time. Her bizarre disappearance in broad daylight remains unsolved. If you have any information about any of the cases we discussed here today, you can call UK Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own theories and speculations, and remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.